What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. Hope all is well with you. And guys, I want to direct your attention over the shoulder right here. That, my friends, is all Negro comics. All Negro comics. I know what you're thinking. He said Negroes. Well, that's what it was called back in 1947. All Negro comics. And as you might imagine, it was a comics company which consisted entirely of white comic book creators. No, it was African American comic book creators. Back in 1947, they had a black superhero by the name of Lion Man. Yes, Lion Man. And I'm not talking about he told a bunch of lies. That would be Juicy Smollett. No, Lion Man as in roar, as in the Lion King, as in Simba. Yes, Lion Man. But anyway, that's a reprint. And I ordered it on Amazon after one of my viewers told me that it existed. It's a very interesting thing paging through it though, guys. If you do get a chance to order it and you do that, you look through it, one thing you're going to notice is that it's full of a lot of, you might say stereotypes, caricatures of black people, stereotypically the way we were seen back in the day, big lips in the jungle, stuff like that. And once again, this was an entirely black comic book company. It's interesting how we wallowed in our own stereotypes. And this is something that I've been talking about recently, where I'm just talking about how come when we get in a position of direction, production, writing, starring, why do we continue to perpetuate stereotypes, guys? And I said that this problem goes deeper than I thought it did, because it just seems like we cannot visualize ourselves outside of the box that we've been put in. And I find this to be very disturbing, because we're the first people to want to talk about that's racist, this is racist. But if we're doing it to ourselves, then why should anybody listen to us? And if we can't visualize ourselves outside of this, then what are we presenting to our kids? Once again, it comes down to that. It always does, guys. So you saw the thumbnail. What I want to talk about, if you guys have not heard about it, they are doing a remake of the 1939 classic, The Wizard of Oz, one of my favorite movies of all times. If you go back into my catalog, whenever you guys hear me talk about Kathleen Kennedy, you will always hear me say, after I say Kathleen Kennedy, I always go, and of course I get that from The Wizard of Oz. Whenever the Wicked Witch showed up, the music would always go, you know what I mean? So anyway, I always loved that movie, guys, and I always got a lot out of it. I always thought it was very meaningful. It was very whimsical, and it's just one of my favorites. I've watched it a million times. I'll probably watch it a million times more. But they're going to be doing a remake, and I want to read this story on CBR.com because it goes to show what I've been talking about how whenever we imagine ourselves, we always place ourselves right there in that stereotypical place that black people are always supposed to be. And in this case, when you take a classic and you put it in blackface, this tendency is that it's always worse for it. In other words, you don't add something to it. It just becomes the ghetto version of it. And this is something that I feel like I've had enough of. I'm tired of seeing it. And I really hope you are too, guys. So let's get to the headline here. It says, The Wizard of Oz remake director reveals big change with the upcoming film. And it goes on to say, The Wizard of Oz remake will be set in the Bottoms, Inglewood, California, rather than the original setting of Kansas. You heard right. The original, or The Wizard of Oz remake, will be set in the Bottoms, Inglewood, California, rather than the original setting of Kansas. Kenya Barris revealed to Variety this week. Fans of Snowfall may remember the frequent references to the Bottoms across its 6 seasons. Barris confirmed that the Wizard of Oz script was complete and explained his thought process regarding the setting. And Kenya Barris, who by the way did Blackish, that he was behind that, Kenya Barris says, The original Wizard of Oz took place during the Great Depression, he said, and it was about self-reliance and what people were going through. I think this is the perfect time to switch the characters and talk about what someone imagines their life could be. But really, guys, was that what the original Wizard of Oz really about? Was that what it was really about? I think it was more about Dorothy was running away from home because she was trying to protect Toto from the evil lady who was going to take Toto and probably have Toto destroyed. So she was running away from home, not because she just hated home. It was because she was trying to protect her dog, and nobody at home was helping her to protect her dog. She was desperate, so she ran away. I don't know what Kenya Barris is going on about here, but I think he's kind of a little off about what the original Wizard of Oz was about. He continued, "It's ultimately a hero's journey. Someone thinks something's better than where they're at, and they go and realize that where they're at is where they should be. I want people to be proud and happy about where they're from." Now, see, guys, this is what I was talking about with Director X a while ago, about how when you adapt a story, in his case, Robin Hood, in this case, The Wizard of Oz, it's not always a good fit for black concerns and black subject matter. Of course, in Robin Hood's case, you're talking about the concept of robbing the rich and giving to the poor. Now, for a lot of people, stereotypically, that's what they say black people do anyway. They rob people. They rob from the rich to give to the poor, which would be themselves. All right, so you're glorifying robbing people with a people that stereotypically are seen as being criminals. How many times do you have to hear people say disproportionately is black people committing all the crimes out there? The story of Robin Hood might not be what you want to have attributed to black people, in much the same way as The Wizard of Oz. When he says that it's ultimately a hero's journey, someone thinks something's better than where they're at, and they go and realize that where they're at is where they should be. You gotta understand, you're talking about the Bottoms in Englewood, California. Why would anybody want to be there? All right? It is crime ridden. It is gang infested. Why would that be the place where once you get away from it, you would click your heels and say, there's no place like home. There's no place like home if you don't get freaking killed. It goes on to say, I want people to be proud and happy about where they're from, but I want the world to take a look at it, and I hope that will come through. And then the author of this article, even though that's some bullshit, the author of the article says, with the real life Bottoms having high levels of social deprivation and gang activity, Barris's take would suggest a lead character trying to escape a life which seems predestined for them given their surroundings. Of course, you want to get out of a place like that. You don't say, this is where I'm supposed to be. Once again, this is what I've been talking about. Why would you say to a black person who's stuck in the Bottoms, a gang-ridden, social-deprived area, and if you're from the Bottoms, I'm sorry, I know that you're probably trying to get out, all right, no offense, but if you're there, why would anybody say, I'm proud and happy about where I'm from, and that this is where I should be? Why should you be there? Look at my voice all cracking. I'm getting all passionate here. Why should you want to be there? Now, it is a fact, believe it or not, that Kenya Barris is from Englewood. I don't know if he's from the Bottoms, but he is from there. Okay? So, okay. All right, you're writing about where you're from, assuming that you're from the Bottoms. You're from Englewood, but I don't know if you're from the Bottoms. I don't know if they're interchangeable that way. I'm just a dude from New York. But the point is, guys, is that, once again, it's inappropriate to adapt a movie such as The Wizard of Oz, where the central theme is there's no place like home when your home is likely to get you killed. But this guy is saying that this is where you should be. And that's the scary thing about it, guys. Because just like we did with Robin Hood, he said that it was more comfortable, more appropriate to have Robin Hood be reimagined as a black girl in the ghetto, in the projects, because that's where she should be. Why should we be there? And like I said, this was the creator of the show Blackish. They were not in the ghetto, right? I think they were upper middle class or something like that. But when you start messing around with a remake, such as a classic like The Wizard of Oz, you would do such a thing. This reminds me of when they did Miles Morales' Thor, and they did graffiti on the hammer, and they had him wearing like Nike shoes next to some graffiti and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how other people see us, but this doesn't have to be how we see each other. Now, The final line here. Barris has also said previously that his remake will include LGBT representation. Of course! Of course! And it just gets worse. Guys, why is it that black concerns and black representation these days always have to go hand in hand with the LGBTQ question mark crowd? You know what I'm saying? It's like no disrespect to them. But why is that a selling point when you want to do something from a so-called black point of view? It's got to be LGBTQ plus question mark representation. Guys, this is going to be an utter mess. And ultimately, the danger also of this is that you guys realize we are resegregating ourselves in America, starting with show business, which has always been used to condition the crowd. It's always been used to influence the people. So when you start doing this, you take a classic that has been loved for generations and appealed to everybody all across the rainbow, and you decide now, I want to make it more race specific. What we're doing ultimately, guys, is we are pretty much, how would you call it? We are no longer empathetic towards one another. We're no longer relating to one another unless you specifically see it as a representation of your race. Do you guys see the danger in that? That we can no longer relate to each other unless we see something that looks like us. So, in other words, when you see the original Wizard of Oz, now you want to consider that the white one. Now keep in mind, guys, we already had The Wiz in 1978. You might remember that. Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, Richard Pryor, Nipsey Russell. You know, that was back in 1978. We had The Wiz that was based on the stage play, I believe it was. You know, so we already had that was in the hood. It was in the ghetto. But that was way back in 1978. This is 2024. I would think that our vision of ourselves would be better at this point. But no, once again, this is what we see. This is what Hollywood gives us. And unfortunately, we are the ones that are giving it to ourselves. Once you give a platform to black producers, black writers, black directors, you would think that they would challenge the audience to see yourselves as doing better, as something better. But no, just like what I see here, and I value this because this is history, all Negro comics, just like we see here, to bring it full circle, when we get in that position to create, unfortunately, we do the same exact thing. We wallow in the stereotypes, which makes it even worse coming from us because we're the ones that's presenting this to ourselves, to our children. But guys, this is going to be an utter disaster. It's a bastardization of the source material, something that did not need to happen. And believe it or not, this guy is actually going to do a remake also of It's a Wonderful Life. You know, why? Once again, one of my other favorite movies, a holiday classic, It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart. But he's going to remake that as well. What happened to doing original stories? What, you know, more appropriate stories? Like I said, this is only going to be perceived as a mockery, and it won't be taken seriously, and respectability goes down the drain as usual. But okay, guys, those are my thoughts, my beginning thoughts on this. I might not be finished talking about this, but that's it for now, because I got to go pick up my son. As usual, I'm just a dad Uber these days. But anyway, guys, get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this, the remake of the timeless classic, The Wizard of Oz, but black. All right, get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this, guys. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you for the super thanks. I'll see you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.